I want to tell you one thing. I was on Raw. This is what I got in Long Island, Nassau Coliseum. I had to be there at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. This bitch cost $8. This is staying with me. Staying with me for the rest of my life. Cause I'm still not gonna give it a bonus point. This is maybe the best month of my life. It's not because my birthday comes this next week. It's because I've just went to my first ever Monday Night Raw in my life. And to tell you that it was somewhat entertaining, pyrotechnics, Undisputed Era, seeing Brock Lesnar for the first time live in the arena, Rey Mysterio, Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins. I had to say, coming from a wrestling fan, I'm feeling myself a bit. Cause I'm just telling you, man, I'm really excited to do a bit of this review because this is coming from the live eyes that I watched on television. I watched in a bit of the nosebleeds, but still, I watched it, and it was amazing. So, I did not care. I was going off to get something to eat. They were doing main event. They were taping main event on Raw before Raw, so they had a under 30-minute match involving No Way Jose jobbing to Shelton Benjamin when this guy barely been on TV. So he's gonna win at he was gonna win on main event, but he's not gonna win on Raw. So that's what you're telling me. Other than that, no one cared. No Way Jose is not over. His popular gimmick where he's dancing, somehow not him. He's not winning, so no one cares. Yeah, we have Brock Lesnar trying to find Rey Mysterio after anonymously after quitting Friday Night SmackDown and bringing the WWE Championship to Monday Night Raw so we can find Rey Mysterio after what he did at Crown Jewel. He came around trying to intimidate the commentators later on the show after they just did a public promo. Paul Heyman's and everybody was on the crowd. I feel like there was another section, very little fans there. Fucking ladies and gentlemen, everybody was following up the promo. And then later on in the show, Brock Lesnar would assault Dio Madden after threatening Jerry the King Lawler later on. And Dio Madden would get F5'd on a chair. And then later on, Paul Heyman will also reference that heart attack that Jerry had back in 2012 on an episode of Raw. Beautiful character work. We're not going to go further into that. That's just a fucked up way so Paul Heyman can gather up some heat. Other than that, that was still scary. Dio Madden trying to defend one of his fellow co-workers was cool. Even though it ended with him with getting his ass kicked, and then Rey Mysterio coming with a metal pipe, finally making this thing personal. We haven't seen the WWE Championship defended on Survivor Series in quite a minute. Last time they did something involving the WWE Championship was back at 2015, but it was a tournament thanks to Seth Rollins had an injury on a house show, if you don't remember. And still, before that, that was when the title was vacant, and we finally got a new champion. The last time we had a title defense for it, per se, was back in 2013 when Randy Orton was WWE champion. But that's besides the point. Other than that, good build. A nice surprise attack from Rey Mysterio, then beating the shit, and then hitting him with the WWE Championship, taking it backstage and saying that he's going to do this for his family, doing this for his son, and he's going to beat Brock Lesnar for the world title. Do you think that's going to happen? And if it does, do you think they're finally going to give Rey Mysterio justice for, finally building up some confidence and beating the shit out of Brock Lesnar after hitting him with a headshot with a steel chair just at Crown Jewel, and now he finally comes to build up the balls after trying to hype up Cain Velasquez, and that lowers down his stock. Thanks, over the time we had Cain Velasquez on the roster, he was supposed to be this guy that would be the only few people that actually intimidate Brock Lesnar. Actually get him to be scared and pin Brock Lesnar down and pummel the shit out of him. Then we had the match that was under fucking 5 minutes that ended its submission in some bullshit striking crap that ends off a Kimura lock from the ground. And then we have Rey Mysterio building up to the suspense things. It's been literally just built up for Rey Mysterio to feud up with Brock Lesnar. And if you wanted to have Rey Mysterio have a match, or at least Ken Velasquez to face off against Brock, oh my god. Oh man, this is super retarded. Oh boy. Why not just let Kofi hold the title for at least another month? And then let him win it after SmackDown and just make him quit Raw SmackDown after that. Just build up more surprise. But it's a shock. Plus, no one would still care that Kofi's a world champion. There was later on the show, the Kabuki Warriors just came in before they were heading up to the commercial break. They do a lot of crap to try to entertain the fans, showing a bit of Jimmy Fallon and doing some other crap. They don't even put trivia up. I like trivia. Put trivia up to the fans so you can get the younger kids more educated on the wrestlers, or at least on the history of the WWE. Not Jimmy Fallon try to think you all mainstream or DVD first films that WWE wrestlers do. It's just not that enticing. Then we had Natalya and Charlotte face off against the Kabuki Warriors, and it's kind of weird because we don't know the build-up of why Natalya and Charlotte are tagging with each other, and this is coming from Natalya feuding with Charlotte over the past, like she did after having 3-month-old feud with Lacey Evans from going over Smack from near the end of the summer to I think to a month ago, and then you have her tag with Charlotte. This match wasn't bad in any means. There were some decent hot tags. I felt like they were dragging it around the ring. Natalya was like wasting a lot of time. Like, you got hit from outside. She didn't break your fucking nose. You weren't bleeding. Coming around. There was a big moonsault, and they thought they was gonna get the 3 count off a moonsault on double the women. I understand. Charlotte's a fucking 6'7" she-male blondie, and all my friends said that her hair was nice. Oh god, Charlotte's a good wrestler, but other than that, this match wasn't much, and it just came up to that. That's it. And that's after, and the match just got overshadowed because no one cares about these women to the Rey Mysterio attack, and then the promo Rey Mysterio had after attacking Brock Lesnar. Charlotte and Flair does win, but no one cares because the segment after it was so cooler. And whatever they're gonna do, the only thing to build up a women's tag match is have very little filler matches over the coming weeks on SmackDown and Raw. As soon as you pin the tag team champions, you get a shot in the go like before 2 weeks or a week, a last minute go home show before the pay per view. Like, there's no storylines involving any of this unless you count Paige with the Kabuki Warriors, even though she really doesn't care at this point. She'd rather do IG, make her own brand, and suck some black cock while she's at it. Or whatever the hell her boyfriend's name is. Whatever. Okay, next up. We had Cedric Alexander face off against Buddy Murphy. This was a fun match. This was a really fun match. Top Gun Holo. Trying to do that unnecessary backflip over the ropes and then a bicycle knee to the face. We just called it the V-Trigger because Kenny Omega literally made the most addicting name for basic bicycle knee to the face. Reverse Michinoku driver for a Michinoku driver. Then off a counter out of nowhere, Murphy's Law wins the match. It was a good match. It just doesn't make any sense why these guys wrestle. Why did they wrestle other than to display their talents? We get it. They got drafted and you want to get more. Buddy Murphy didn't have a promo. These guys are both cruiserweight champions, and these guys feuded for the belt like last year, and had that little super showdown shit that was like match of the year. But no one cares since nobody watches 205 live, and plus they're like the match opener equivalent right now. And Lio Rush is currently on NXT holding the cruiserweight championship. So the point of making these guys wrestle is just for filler. I swear they're trying to make Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander the Apollo Crews of it. You have tremendous talent. You obviously is physically gifted. But other than that, you have no compelling attributes that make you watchable. Other than Buddy Murphy's like electric and really physical, fast-ass wrestling, and the amazing athleticism out of Cedric Alexander that had a bit more screen time with on Raw after having matches with AJ Styles. And I think Corbin and Buddy Murphy was just notable for two great matches he had on SmackDown, but barely being part of any pay-per-view. So I think Cedric Alexander is still going to be more popular than Buddy unless Buddy gets in a feud. These guys need to be in storylines. As much as you want to build up this NXT Raw versus SmackDown thing, we know this is going to be over the month. If you wanted to do this thing when NXT is taking over, why didn't you do this earlier in the year? Like over the summer. Or at least the previous 2 months. There is no reason to just have NXT here, other than just get the Smarks more involved when kids barely know most of these guys. Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Bianca Belair, the Undisputed Era, when, Smarks are just going to say, Ring of Honor! Ring of Honor! Yeah, we know, they said Adam Cole, baby. They kept shouting that over the back of my ear. This old white fuck that kept shouting, yeah! And he kept shouting, Adam Cole, baby! Imagine that ringing your ears, and the man is sitting right directly behind you, just so we can just get a random chant off the fans, because the fans were asleep for most of the show. I think most of them it was unnecessary commercial breaks, no in-ring promos to hype anything up, until Rollins came out for the first time, being like, what's the next step for Seth Rollins? Because he lost the Universal Championship after a shitty display. Well, I didn't watch the match. I'm not going to say a shitty display. I did not watch Crown Jewel for those reasons only. Other than I heard they did the best call and just gave Bray Wyatt the world title, the Universal title, that he had to defend until facing Adam Cole later. The fuck? The fuck? What? Why? Other than Triple H is commissioner and he's responsible for NXT. It was a decent promo. He brung up whenever Rollins is struggling to get to the next step. I'm always there. Brung up most of the stuff he did on NXT. Most of what got him to the WWE Championship, what got himself to the Universal Championship, and what would be next to go back to his roots and join the NXT team to be in most of the matches. This was like a 13-match pay-per-view. Now they got NXT involved. Some bullshit. They're still gonna do TakeOver War Games, so why in the hell are they involved? Oh my god. Okay. Most of the NXT guys didn't get much of a promo in, other than Triple H just, I'm responsible for NXT. Smarks love me. Ugh. Yeah. And then he brung up it was a cool thing seeing the Undisputed Era come out from out the crowd with them or against them, bringing up the Shield. It was nice. Adam Cole that just came out of pinning Daniel Bryan clean comes up and he doesn't even say a word. Just comes with the OC coming out of nowhere trying to help out Seth Rollins, even though the OC are complete jobbers. But they're the more popular faction because AJ Styles is there. Then the rest of the NXT came. Dominic Domovich jumped on Styles. The Undisputed Era just came out attacking everybody else. Then the Raw roster came out, beating the shit out of everybody and chasing out the numbers game. Cool segment to see Raw wants to fight against NXT while SmackDown was just getting invaded with only Sami Zayn getting beaten the shit out of and Adam Cole pinned. It's two bitches got beaten up, and Daniel Bryan just got beaten in the main event. That's pretty much it. Next up, we had Eagle with the thick ass Carolina, and Sin Cara's there. Sin Cara's there. Oh, God, she's thick. Okay, never mind. They're facing up against Andrade and Zelina Vega in a mixed tag team match. And this is coming out of Sin Cara losing not once, but twice against Andrade. And what would change the numbers? Thanks, Carolina is this time involved in a match involving Sin Cara and Andrade. And she can actually win one to defend the honor of Sin Cara. Well, they lose that match as well. What's the point of bringing these niggas back if they're not going to at least win one match? Andrade just came from having memorable matches with Rey Mysterio for most of this year, beating the Lucha House Party a number of times, and then beating the shit out of, and going to the King of the Ring, and then losing to Shorty G. Fucking, now Zelina Vega just beats Carolina with a Enziguri to the face, to the pavement. That's pretty much her move. I mean, a Hurricane around it to the ring. Roll out, fake elbow. I was just there for the finish. I was trying to get something to eat. Other than that, the match seemed alright. Just basic moves up Sin Cara. At least he isn't botching. That's the more important part. Other than that, this match was forgettable, but this does nothing to upper the ante on Andrade. Zelina Vega makes Andrade cool. She's highly attractive as well, but if you don't go hitting shots on something as personal and as sacred and as long-spanning as Lucha Libre, the fans are not going to get that over like you are whenever you face off against somebody as a household name as Rey Mysterio. And now Rey Mysterio is in a bigger platform. Now he's in what looks like the main event scene when he's facing off against Brock Lesnar. Ooh, this is going to be big. Big stopping point for Andrade unless this feud actually goes somewhere and Sin Cara actually wins a match. Or at least you're just doing this so Andrade can get some wins under his belt so he can start jobbing, and when he faces off against a legit guy like maybe Rusev, Lashley, McIntyre, Rollins, anybody else. Next up, involving Rusev and McIntyre, they had a match. And it was a good little bout. And this was going over Rusev finally coming out of the ring and challenging Bobby Lashley one-on-one on Raw. And I understand they're trying to save that for Survivor Series or release a match later on because they don't like doing personal feuds on pay-per-view anymore. Bobby Lashley came with 2 crushes, faking an injury later on in the show, so they can just get McIntyre. I was in the show, I should be happy. I should be happy. But here's the thing. I'm in a video strictly involving Drew McIntyre not because of his look, not because of the change of his physique. He really, well, kind of because of that, and his promo style. He looks more intimidating. He looks more scary. He actually looks like a badass. Why aren't we letting badasses be badasses and have a singles run? Give him the Intercontinental Championship. I mean the United States title. Bring back the European Championship for him. Bring it back. Bring something back for this guy. Give him a world title run. Why is it that hard to do something as intimidating as the guy who's been force-fed over the mid-card and just having matches not only with Roman Reigns, well, a lot with Roman Reigns, Cedric Alexander, feuding with him for the next 2 months, being part of Shane McMahon's lackey with that best of the world angle he was doing with Miz, and with Elias that hasn't been seen on TV in a minute. Come on. You know how much I care about these guys, and I understand they're trying to make, what's going to be a challenging little distraction for Rusev. It could have been anybody else on this roster. Why in the fuck did it have to be McIntyre. And just for him to be just a foil. It just came with Randy Orton coming out of nowhere. RKOing Rusev. And yes, I got a cheap pop. A big pop of Randy Orton coming for RKO out of nowhere after Lashley came with a crutch, beating the shit out of Rusev after Ricochet came to help. It was crazy. And I think it's just going to build up to a tag team match next week, just so we can have more of a feud. So, it's predictable. The match was serviceable. But other than that, Ricochet just came out to save the match. And there's no point in the play-by-play of the match if it was just going to end up a DQ. If Ricochet was just going to... Lashley was faking an injury, if you know what I mean. Next up, Becky Lynch meets Shayna Baszler with a sit-down. This is coming out of Shayna Baszler intervening in Charlie Caruso's interview with Becky Lynch, and bringing up that she has some ties being a trainer for Ronda Rousey. So, yeah, something like that gets into them feuding and having pretty cool. Seeing Shayna Baszler on Monday Night Raw was cool. Bringing up that she doesn't care the pin or which limb she's going to take from Becky, and having this little chat that didn't go into basic little cliche blows, but seeing two women that are good in their own respectful things and badasses in their own right. It was pretty cool. It was a cool segment. I'm going to give it that. Next up was involving the Street Profits facing Humberto Carrillo against the OC. And it was a match. Humberto Carrillo was just there doing stupid chants, trying to barely speak English. The OC wins. And Carrillo got pinned after he was just fed Styles one-on-one. Top Gun Holo coming off Montez Ford. D'Angelo came and knocked up and Gallows out the ring. Then a Pele kick out of nowhere and just ends off a Styles clash. Why do you do this to him? And he had Styles with him one-on-one before with no distractions off the OC. It just proves how ass this does nothing to get him over. It doesn't make the Street Profits look better. It does nothing to make the OC look intimidating. This was just a basic match because they were already undersold for a 6-man tag the week before. If thanks Styles has something to feud with, that means they're doing a reason for all 6 of them to be in a match. So they made a tag match that went nowhere. Except we forget that we have a US champion. And then we had the Viking Raiders face off against the Polo Boys, where they were dressed in scarves and polos. Our tag team division. We made a draft, and we don't know how many tag teams there are in this fucking show. We love our tag division. Ooh, we gotta just love this to the Street Profits. I understand it's already evaded already. I don't think the OC even got the rematch against the Viking Raiders after losing their tag team titles. So the point of doing this match, just to know how the Viking Raiders are, after a heartfelt promo after winning the tag team belts they did weeks before, come out finally challenging guys, and that World Cup for the tag team turmoil match that dragged over what felt like an hour sucked. So that was pretty much it. With their boring ass, disgusting, stupid promo. And of course, we had the main event Well, not the main event. The steel cage match was the main event. And it came off Rollins defeating Adam Cole via disqualification. In basic match, you get your signature move, super kick, super kick, super kick. Tope Suicida coming from Seth Rollins. Another attempt from the other side. He got counteracted with an enziguri. Panama Sunrise. I think Rollins had him in the buckle bomb one time, and he reversed it. He tried not to get him in his own finisher a few times. Then NXT comes back. It ends in a DQ. I don't know why it's just NXT versus Raw. You could just sell it off that factor alone and Smarks will come watching. There's no point of putting the NXT title on the line because we know Adam Cole's just going to regain it. Because NXT's on USA and there got to be a point. You're not going to let the former Raw champion just hold the NXT belt all because they're going to be on Survivor Series. So they were just doing this for a deep, desperate ploy to be like, imagine Seth Rollins on Raw. Imagine he's the NXT champion. What the fuck is there going to be on NXT? What the fuck? Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, Dominic Donovich came out while Raw superstars like Ricochet did a big ass plancha from outside, taking everybody out with his skinny ass. Then doing another one from the top again. Keith Lee came and did one from the top rope. Everybody brawled the shit out of each other. I was naming NXT guys from the top of my head, and they were coming around beating the shit out of each other. It was awesome. It was lit. The funniest thing is, it's Raw and SmackDown and NXT. If you wanted to think SmackDown has a smaller roster, why not just combine, just say, top guys against NXT? Or main roster against NXT. Raw and SmackDown versus NXT. That could sell alone. Because we know they're just main eventers, the main roster, against the developmental system. So why not just sell it by that alone? The future against the now. That's awesome. But thanks that didn't go anywhere. We had our main event that was Bray Wyatt against Seth Rollins for the Universal title in the Steel Cage match. Even though Rollins just came out of a DQ and then hell got loose. Out of nowhere, as soon as he no-sold 7 curb stomps. Rollins was trying to build up a head of steam. Bray Wyatt did his little from the ropes. Just ended it by Abigail's kiss. It wins the match. Did the mandible claw. Rollins tried to do a bit of a comeback. The steel cage match was just underwhelming. And I think they must have cut it to black as soon as the brawl happened. Because they were just preparing for the steel cage. And I think they just wanted the brawl to end there. Bray Wyatt was just there. I guess that was cool. Because we know he was just going to regain the title. There was no reason for the steel cage match to happen if you were trying to build it from NXT. But we forgot NXT. Bray Wyatt's our Universal Champion, so he has to be on Raw just to squash a world champion, a former world champion. So that's lit. That was lit. The show gets a 5 out of 10. It was fun, but there was no legit reason to watch other than NXT. It was kind of predictable because they went to SmackDown. Obviously, you got to go to Raw afterwards, and then Raw comes to NXT the next week. I mean, the same week, so not the most typical way to sell anything. So it was cool at least. There were 2 good matches, 2 great promos, a women's tag team match that went nowhere, and a main event that you could literally sell off the top of your head like, oh yeah, they're not doing that. And predictable stuff to be for next week on Raw, so yeah. It is so good to go to a Raw event for the first time in my life. But that isn't going to change my opinion on how I think the show should improve. Getting a Raw for the first time live, I will always make that the most 10 out of 10 experience in my life. And I will never forget it. Being with fans have the same love I have for the company. Pyro, the music, seeing it live on TV, it beats the hell out of watching it on live TV, and that's the 10 out of 10 I'm gonna give it. But 5 out of 10, the Raw show. It still had stuff to improve. They gotta stop at the squash match for the Viking Raiders. Rollins better be in a storyline involving NXT if you want to actually make this interesting. And put more authority figures, because obviously Vince is involved of the main roster and Triple H is involved with NXT affairs. And you still got a takeover show to do. And SmackDown still has something to do with this because they attacked them. So whatever the fuck they gotta do, it gotta be cooler than this stupid little Civil War banter. While AEW is actually setting up for full gear. So, that's my thoughts on Monday Night Raw. Thank you for watching. Join the DST show and join my channel. Sure, still call it Mr. Samurai. I'm gonna change it later. Just know this show. You get to see my experience and my take on the show. Thank you for watching, and hopefully subscribe to see more.